Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Rio Rancho Public Schools Parent University. Tonight, our topic is flexible testing options for this spring. So really talking about student testing and assessments. If this is your first Parent University, we wanted to tell you a little bit about how this works. You're viewing this session on our RRPS YouTube channel. We have enabled the chat feature, so please enter your questions in the chat feature if you have any during this presentation, and we'll get to those questions when we complete the presentation. Please do not use that space to put in general comments or to have discussions, as we really want to be sure that we're capturing the questions so we can answer those at the end. Also, any general comments or any inappropriate content will be removed from the chat section, so please keep it appropriate. And then also, we will only address questions that pertain to the topic being presented this evening. So I know there's probably other questions that folks have, and if you do have questions, you are more than welcome to email us at rrpsreentryplans@rrps.net, and we can answer those questions there. This evening, we have three presenters and panelists here. I'd like to introduce you to them. We have Dr. Happy Miller. She is our Executive Director of Research, Assessment, Data, and Accountability, or RADA, as we say for short. We have Erin Morin, who is our District Test Coordinator, and we have Suzanne Wynn, who is our Executive Director of Federal, Bilingual, and Native American Programs. So with that, we will go ahead and get started this evening, and I am going to turn it over to Dr. Happy Miller.
Thank you, parents and guardians, for joining us. Can you move to the next slide, please? This is our contact information. We encourage you to email us with further questions. It's basically first name dot last name at rrps.net. And the three of us are available to answer any questions you may have. Next slide, please. So you may be aware that federal legislation requires that students in grades 3 through 8 and 11 take an annual assessment in English and math. This year, those assessments were supposed to be called the MSSA for grades 3 through 8 and the SAT school day for grade 11. The SAT school day is the normal college reportable SAT test, and students can receive a college reportable score. And so this would qualify for both federal accountability purposes and would benefit students. Students in grades 5, 8, and 11 will take a science assessment. There's an alternative version of these assessments called DLM, Dynamic Learning Maps, and students who are currently identified as English learners take the Access Assessment to measure their progress in English language proficiency from year to year. Next slide, please. In addition to these federally required assessments, the state offers a variety of assessments that we use for different purposes. They might be used for program evaluation or to obtain a seal of bilingualism. We use iStation in grades K2 to measure early literacy skills. Pre-K has an observational tool. And in future years, the state may offer the PSAT 10 and possibly the PSAT 8-9 to students in grade 9, so that we can measure growth of students from one year to the next. Next slide, please. With these accountability assessments come strict rules. They need to be administered under standardized conditions, which means that even though we have a public health emergency, students would need to come on campus and test under standardized conditions. They must test at designated times. For example, the SAT school day, March 3rd is the designated day. And it's like AP exams also have a designated day and time. Students must come then, and all students must test at the same time for test security purposes. In addition to that, this year we have additional safety protocols, which include staggered start times so that students don't arrive at the same time and wait in a line where they're less than 6 feet apart. It includes health screenings, taking the student's temperature, asking them questions. The current ratio is 5 students to 1 test administrator. So normally it's 25 students in a classroom testing. Until we're in a hybrid mode, it's 5 students to 1, which means that We need more test administrators and more classrooms to administer the assessments. We can't have students congregating in the bathroom, so we need hall monitors and making sure that we have staggered breaks. We also need to make sure that we don't have students congregating in the cafeteria, so we have to bring food um, to the classrooms in coolers, make sure that it's the proper temperature, but make sure that we are not endangering students in any way. Next slide, please. So this makes it fairly complicated, these logistical issues, and there are also a number of other concerns that we have. One is a potential mismatch between the content taught and the content measured in the assessments. This year, we have been focusing on essential standards, and we want to make sure that all students have had the opportunity to learn the content that's measured in the assessments. The assessments haven't changed, but we have focused more heavily on the essential standards this year. We understand that there are safety concerns, particularly from families who may have chosen the fully virtual option, who may not want their child coming on campus to test when they have chosen the fully virtual option, and likely because they have um, health conditions that make them concerned for their safety. The small student to test administrator ratio means that there would be more testing sessions overall, and if the teacher needs to proctor more testing sessions, that means the teacher is less available for live synchronous instruction or in-person instruction. So it could have a negative impact on instruction. And then if our schools are filled with hybrid students and we're trying to make sure that we have few students each room, we're using each room, then we don't have space to bring the virtual students in to test. And we would very much be hesitant to bring in students to test and have other students who have signed up for hybrid instruction stay home and have virtual instruction on that day in order to make space for testing. Next slide, please. So the New Mexico Public Education Department has heard these concerns, and they are in the process of asking the U.S. Department of Education to allow flexibility in the assessments that are given in the spring of this year. We do not yet have approval for the waiver. It's in the process of being submitted, but they do anticipate that this flexibility will be granted. And in turn, the Public Education Department has offered districts the flexibility to tailor the assessments to the needs of their community. Next slide, please. So we have gone through a process of consulting with different district departments and with the schools. We want to consult with you, also the Board of Education. And we made the following recommendations. We believe that assessments that are of benefit, direct benefit to the students, all assessments have some benefit, but the most benefit to students, like the SAT school day, assessments for the seal of bilingualism, and advanced placement exams should be offered. Advanced placement exams are not provided by the state or the federal government, but they are exams that require the students to come on campus to test at this point in time. College Board is looking at contingency plans that is subject to change, but at this point, we are planning to administer them and make sure students enrolled in AP courses can take these exams. So we wanted to make sure we included that, and you realize we are still planning to administer these exams. We also want to focus on those types of assessments that provide us the most instructional information, like iStation in the elementary school, the early child observation tool, our district interim assessment called NWA Measures of Academic Progress, and also our collaborative teaching teams use a variety of curriculum-based measures to see how students are doing and provide additional support to students. And we want to really support and focus on those assessments. Next slide. That means that these assessments here, the MSSA, the NMASR, the DLM, Access and Avant STEM, we are recommending that we don't administer for this year. However, if you very much would like your child to take this assessment, please contact us and we will talk to you more about the assessment and we can make it available to individual students. We are not recommending the MSSA or the NMASR because it is the first year for these assessments and it will not provide us the type of information that we will obtain in future years. And it also cannot serve as a baseline. Next slide, please. You may be wondering how this affects your child's ability to meet the graduation competency requirements. For the class of 2021, there is no impact. The PED has previously announced flexibilities for those students who meet course requirements for graduation by July 31st, 2021. For the class of 2022, there are a number of options available in the state's menu of options. However, the state recognizes that we are not offering all of the assessments that are in the menu, and some additional flexibilities may be needed for the class of 2022. However, they have not yet determined what those flexibilities may be. Next slide. So with that short presentation, we'd like to open the floor to answer any questions that you may have.
So you were so thorough, Happy. You answered everyone's questions in your presentation, that no one has any questions. So I do want to give an opportunity though for anyone to say anything. Erin and Suzanne as well, as I know many of you have been fielding questions. And so if you have anything that you think is important for parents to know as well, in addition to Dr. Miller's comments, we could close out with those last remaining thoughts.
I just want to say that I believe Dr. Miller covered the topic well, and if parents have any questions, not to hesitate, that we are available.
Great. And do you have any last comments, Dr. Miller?
Ms. Nguyen, do you have any comments you'd like to share?
No, I just echo that sentiment. I think there was a very comprehensive presentation. Thank you, Dr. Miller. And any of us are always here as questions may arise later. Thank you.
And that's how I'd like to end, is please don't hesitate to contact us. I don't know, I guess the video, a recording of this will be available. It has our contact information in the front. So please don't hesitate to email us, and we'd be happy to discuss any questions or concerns you may have.
Perfect. You took the words right out of my mouth. The video is definitely available to share and to rewind and watch again if you have questions. If something comes up after the fact, we encourage you to reach out to Dr. Miller or Erin Moore or Suzanne Nguyen. And we thank you all for joining us this evening, and we'll see you for our next Parent University. Thank you all.